Dr. Ariane from the Movement Paradigm. Did you know that you do not have to do crunches and sit-ups to train your core effectively? And in fact, crunches and sit-ups, among other core exercises, can actually negatively impact your core, especially if they're not done properly. So let's talk today about how you can train your core without doing crunches. Let's break the core down. So we have our local stabilizers, we have our global stabilizers, and we have our global mobilizers. When we refer to the local stabilizers, this is really important. We're thinking about our pelvic floor, our diaphragm, our multifidus in the back, our transverse abdominis, our deep posterior back of the psoas, the hip flexor, and also the deep stabilizers of the hip. So we have the deep 5 stabilizers that are right back here. So these muscles are mainly geared towards creating isometric contractions. So if we think this is concentric, this is eccentric, this is isometric holding. They're going to isometrically contract to create stability and control the joint positioning. So this improves what we refer to as joint centration, keeping the joint on its center axis. So once again, their role is to stabilize. We also have our global stabilizers. So this is going to include our glute medius, our spinalis muscles in the back, our quadratus lumborum. These muscles are also geared towards stabilizing, but they create more of an eccentric range of motion. And then we also have our global mobilizers. Think of our rectus abdominis, for example, our lats, our quads. These muscles are going to create force production. So they are going to initiate force and movement. So think they're mobilizers. All of these are very, very important. They're equally important. However, one has to come first, and that is the local stabilization. We have to be able to stabilize our joints in order to be able to produce force and power from a stable foundation. Otherwise, we will contribute to injury. Before I jump in, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Movement Paradigm, for weekly tips on mindset, nutrition, and movement to help you live your best life. When we refer to the deep core and how it is intimately connected with your feet and the rest of your body, I like to use the reference of the deep front fascial line. So this connects from the bottom of the foot fascially all the way up through the inner thigh, the pelvic floor, the deep stabilizers, all the way up to the diaphragm and even the neck. So this beautiful representation of this fascial tensegrity is a great visual of how our body is connected and how our feet are actually part of our core. I think a great way to appreciate this deep local stabilization and the importance of the local stabilization before the global stabilization is a hernia. So whether you or you know someone who has had an umbilical hernia, an inguinal hernia, an abdominal hernia, a sports hernia, this is a perfect example of where over time the deep core was not stabilizing efficiently, and there was so much stress on the outer core musculature. There was poor, what we refer to as pressurization in the abdomen, and therefore it caused a tear in the abdominal wall, or in the case of a sports hernia, in the fascial tissue. So in the case of a sports hernia, which is very, very common, I see in my practice quite frequently, but often very overlooked and misdiagnosed, is where the fascial tissue, different than the deep front line, the fascial tissue connects, so it's the rectus abdominis, our main six-pack muscle, the fascia here, and then goes right into the adductor. And what will happen is the adductor muscle will have the mechanical advantage, so it pulls and will create a tear in the fascia in the rectus sheath. That is the most common, and therefore you cannot rehab that. It has to be surgically repaired because now you've lost integrity in this force transmission system. So why is it important to train this deep local system before the outer global system? Is so that you can prevent things like hernia and back pain and hip pain, neck pain. You can really have an optimal foundation to work from, to generate force and power and be able to do the things that you want to do. So we're going to get into 5 different exercises that you can begin to incorporate into your routine or refine if you're already doing them, so that you do not need to do crunches and sit-ups, but you can do these exercises to really maximize the potential of your core. Diaphragmatic breathing with pelvic floor contraction. As you inhale, lengthening the pelvic floor, relaxing, and then as you exhale, gently lifting the pelvic floor about 20% contraction up in the direction of your head. Repeating this for 8 to 10 breaths, really working on the coordination and rhythm of the breath with the pelvic floor contraction. The step-by-step hollow, taking a breath in, flattening your back as you exhale. Taking a breath in, exhaling, coming up, lifting your head, reaching tension through your fingertips. Taking a breath in, exhaling, and pulling your hamstring in towards your body, and then repeating with the other side. If that feels appropriate there, stay in that position for breaths. If not, you'd like to progress it. Taking a breath in, exhaling, raising your arm overhead, keeping the hollow position, keeping the tension, and then the other arm. And then if you'd like to go to the full progression, if that feels appropriate to you, then you would extend one leg, and then you would extend the other leg. This is your beast position. Index finger parallel, spreading your fingers really wide, corkscrewing your shoulders, tucking the toes under, lifting the knees approximately 2 inches or so above the ground, and using your breath as your repetition. You can do this for as many breaths as you can hold. You can also progress into a crawling motion. To work on lateral stability, you can do the side plank. So this is the first progression with the elbow underneath the shoulder, knee is going to be bent, and the top leg straight. If you'd like to progress this, you can go into a staggered stance or even a stacked posture. Foot to core sequencing, standing on one leg in an athletic position, taking a breath in as you relax your foot, relax your pelvic floor, exhaling, rooting the toes into the ground, and repeating that for 5 to 8 breath cycles. So as you do that, you're rooting the tips of the digits into the ground. You could also move into a bowler or any other type of dynamic motion, inhaling back and exhaling, short footing, and coming back to the standing position. So there you have it, 5 different ways that you can begin to shift your core training to focus on local stabilization before global stabilization and movement. And you can use these as ideas. There are, of course, endless exercises that can fit into this category, but this is just to get you thinking a little bit differently about how to train your core the best way possible so that you can really improve your performance, your injury, decrease your injury prevention, and feel your best. Thank you as always for your support. If this was helpful for you, please make sure to like it, comment. We'd love to hear your insights. And please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Movement Paradigm, for weekly tips on mindset, nutrition, and movement. And don't forget to hit that alert button to stay tuned. All right, thank you. Until next time.